Wendy's very first trip to India, where I think she was also just sort of like exploring whether the model could even work in a very different context. And I remember being in crowded schools with her and taking her to a college campus and walking around the community with her. And I remember her turning to me at some point in the trip saying, you know, I came really prepared for the differences, but I didn't come prepared for the similarities.
This is a picture I have from those early days. The first global conference in Germany. And that was a very, let's say, early meeting with only a few people. And you see now those global conferences are quite bigger. And it's not only in Berlin, then it was India, then it was United Kingdom, Chile, and we've been all around the world.
I sent this letter arguing that we need the model in Austria. Yeah, and all the meetings I had were so positive. I was really convinced I want to spend my next year with these people and with the people on a mission to give every child the opportunity it deserves.
My mom is Armenian and very proudly Armenian, and throughout the 2 years, she'd sort of whisper in my ear, you know, you should really think of teaching in Armenia too. There are kids in Armenia that would really need a teacher like you. And towards the second year of my teaching, I reached out to Teach for America, sort of with this idea that maybe we can create a similar model in Armenia.
The mission and vision of the global network really resonated strongly with me. And it felt like the opportunity that I did not have in my own country when I graduated from college, because I had to leave Kenya and go and live in Central America to get that opportunity to hone my leadership skills and be a volunteer teacher in the classroom. So I saw this as an opportunity to support young Kenyans to launch a career of impact and purpose.
Those 2 years have shaped my career. They've changed my life. Which can sound a little bit cliche, but it's true. Every career decision point that I've reached in the intervening decade, I've paused and thought about the classroom, thought about the young people that I was lucky enough to get to work with, and to consider whether the choices that I was making about my next steps would make a meaningful difference to the problem that I was lucky enough to get in close proximity to and to really understand.
Being a Teach For Fellow, it's not merely related to academics. No, you're working not only with the students, but you're working with parents, you're working with administration, you're working with the whole community.
So my first interaction with Teach For All was through students at the Harvard Graduate School of Education who had engaged in Teach For India, which was one of the first members of the network. And what I remember from those students is how much the experience of being a Teach For India fellow had helped them learn about India. And so I thought that this was a phenomenal leadership development opportunity that took people outside their comfort zone and helped them cultivate a passion and a commitment to working in areas they hadn't previously considered.
It's just been so amazing to see the same leadership effects across such diverse contexts in the world. It's almost like seeing the same movie playing in terms of kind of the hearts, minds, and souls drawn to the work, what they accomplished during their initial 2 years of teaching, but then to see the same transformative effects, you know, in terms of how this experience reshapes the mindsets and beliefs and career trajectories of the teachers themselves. And then to see, you know, at such a young age, in many cases, people exerting such ongoing leadership, whether it's from within classrooms or in school leadership roles or in government ministries, or people launching social innovations to, you know, make up for the gaps in the system.
Starting to see the collective leadership piece come together, especially on the side of government, with the district education officers who appreciate the work because they have visited classrooms where Teach for Uganda fellows have been working for the last 5 years, they are seeing kids who are able to not only articulate their leadership, not only read, write in these lower grades, but also be able to express themselves, be able to do so much better in terms of their learning outcomes compared to what kids would be doing in the other schools without Teach for Uganda.
Teach for All can make a huge difference in terms of systemic change. On one hand, through promoting a better dialogue at the country level on the importance of leadership and management. And second, through creating a cadre of young people that will be eventually leaders in their countries and will be at the helm and taking the decisions that are needed in order to improve quality of education.
Second cohort, when they were finishing their first year, they traveled to India to basically meet other alumni, other teachers from the network. And they literally came back totally transformed. After that experience, they made a school, and today that school is one of the best schools in Chile in low-income communities.
What happens in Latin America can very easily be used in Africa or in Asia. And that is the strength of the network. No better way to look at this than during the pandemic. The fact that there were ways of delivering education through the radio in Africa that was also adopted by other countries, other network members around the world.
Si bien había cosas comunes a raíz de lo que pasó con la pandemia del COVID-19, siento que al instante hicimos un clic y eso nos inspiró a nosotros como organización a pensar en todo lo que se puede hacer desde los lugares en donde nos tocaba estar en ese momento. Sobre todo trayendo ejemplos de Colombia en su momento con lo de la radio, como mencionabas, cómo podíamos hacer llegar el aprendizaje a los estudiantes de manera remota con las dificultades que teníamos, y siento que esto compartimos con otros países con el tema de la no conectividad en nuestros contextos.
やはり教育という共通言語があったとしても、それを捉える価値観の違いっていうところに大きな違いがあり、それを超えた上で、本当に子どもたちにとって、より良い教育をどのように世界中で届けることができるのかということを議論、考えることはすごく困難ではあるんですけれども、やりがいを感じていますし、すごく重要だなと思っています。なので、その多様性を本質的に考えられるっていうのが一つグローバルネットワークにいる価値だなと感じています。
All issues of the world, whether it is the pandemic that we have witnessed, or the climate crisis, or the social inequity all over the world, require that we have solutions that we work together on. And one thing that all of you do so well at Teach for All is the principle of collective leadership.
Since day one, I remember so many people from Teach for All Network got in touch with us, with me, with my team, with our teachers. That support has been invaluable, and it's extremely important in the most difficult time in your life not to feel alone. And thanks to the network, we were able not to feel alone ourselves. So thank you for this.
The important challenges here are lack of access to quality education and learning resources. I and my colleagues were able to address this by creating a space, which is Community Tech Lab, to help the children have access to digital tools and also life skills to help them prepare for the future.
The important challenges in my context are corruption, poverty, climate change, unemployment, lack of skills, lack of development, and lack of technological support. We address our challenges by accepting support, educating ourselves, being positive mindset, being resilient, and also create solid plans to reach our goals.
Within our school, the usage of drugs was so increased. So we are trying to create many awareness in our community and in our school with the help of police and teachers.
I would say that the important challenges in my context are primarily the lack of high quality education, justly what Teach for All is about. which comes from the gap between the upper and low middle economic classes that keeps increasing.
We should take part in various exchange programs, and we should experience more practical, up-to-date knowledge to fight the challenges of the upcoming decades.
Often students do not realize the purpose of education, or it is highly theoretical rather than practical. So at the end of high school, it feels like we have studied for nothing. I do believe that should be addressed in the future, so ways to make education more practical and actually useful to different realities and backgrounds, whatever those are.
I hope to see a situation where all African countries have a Teach For chapter existing in their country, and we have built a formidable network of young Africans who are passionate about serving their country in a meaningful and impactful way.
In 15 years, I hope we get to see equal education opportunities for students all over the world. We can get there by working collectively towards one shared goal with different people from different backgrounds, with different beliefs and thoughts.
Pero sí anhelo seguir cultivando y desarrollando a que nuestros estudiantes y alumni sean los grandes tomadores de decisiones de este país y lo puedan hacer con la conciencia plena de las experiencias que les tocó y les toca vivir. Y que el cambio se vea reflejado no solo en sus acciones, sino también en lo que dejan y lo que dejarán al país como capital social.
My hope for the next 15 years would be for education to be more accessible for kids in every part of the world. This with the help of global organizations just like us at Teach For All, who listen to student voices, their worries, and their hopes.
An education that looks like fundamentally and dramatically different than what we see in our classrooms around the world today. It's an education where children are not the recipients of an excellent education, but partners in an excellent education. I think that is my biggest, most radical, most bold hope for change in our education system.
The young people of the continent of Africa need to realize that the problems of our past, if we work together, we can solve them. And I think they have the passion, they have the knowledge and the skills.
That idea that working together we are stronger than working alone, learning from each other with humility and curiosity and empathy is the way that the world will get to the idea of a global collective leadership.
The challenge that we've addressed from the beginning, those first days in 2008, are the same challenges that we are addressing today, and we're not addressing them alone. More and more, we have more people that are addressing it together, and that is what gives us hope.
Think about all these network partners who are, growing more and more collective leadership over time, also able to learn from each other across borders with more and more networks of people and teachers and alumni and staff members and others who are sharing solutions and learning from each other, and the way that drives even more exponential growth. I just can't wait to see what unfolds over these next 15 years. This work of ours just feels like work of delayed gratification, like it takes time, it's hard, but in the end, I really believe it's the only path to the kind of systemic change that we all want to see.